Hello folks, welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Let's jump straight in, shall we? Because today we have a hobby nightmare about a tournament cheater, an older tournament cheater, who has been, shall we say, called out in front of quite a few people, but we will get into that a little bit later on. First of all, if you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below, and if you really like what I do, the Patreon is also down below. If you want to buy me a beer in this new year to say thank you for the content, that would be completely fine. That is on the Patreon down below. Alrighty, let's jump in, shall we? Serve is our first hobby nightmare of the day, and he says, "Hi North, writing to you to let off some steam today. I've been in the hobby 40k for 20 years now, and I feel my family just doesn't understand my hobby." Will always be a bad one. Can be a bad one. Now, before I go anywhere, my family are great. I'm very fortunate to have them. One thing that has been picking away at me for years is their attitude for my model making hobby. When I was 11, when I was first exposed to 40k, it wasn't a big deal for them. A child's toy for a child sort of thing. Lots of little plastic, metal or resin soldiers for me to be occupied with in my spare time. The thing is, that mindset, I believe, hasn't changed all that much. I'm now over 30 and still living with my parents due to how expensive living is. I mean, since I was 19, I've been working at a full-time job and still can't put a deposit down on a house or afford to move out so I can be independent and, you know, live like an adult. Yeah. Depends where you are, man, in the world. I mean, you could be in London, right? I see you, okay, I get that. But, like, working for 10 plus years full-time, and you can't afford rent? Something wrong there. Something doesn't compute there. What else is going on? Because you should be able to afford rent. If, you know, you just save up and you get a deposit together, you should be able to afford rent. I can understand you not wanting to pay rent, because, you know, it's kind of a scam. I understand that. But you can afford to do it. That's what I'm saying. If you're in a full-time job, and you've been in a full-time job not really paying rent for 10 years, you should be able to pay rent. You know what I mean? On a place. You're making a choice here, I think. I think you're framing this as I don't have a choice when it is. You've made a choice to stay at your parents' place. And that's fine. I made a similar choice for a few years to save up money. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think... especially if you've got friends, who are needing to move in somewhere, dude, hop on, get in there, you know, move in with them and share the load financially. It can work out. Anyway, this rambling mostly focuses on my parents since they are a family I still live with. Again, they are great and I can't imagine life without them. I feel like they think of my hobby as a child's thing, not meant for adults. I remember back when I was a teenager, my dad telling me before my first day of college not to mention my Warhammer to anybody. As if it was something to be ashamed of. Whenever my birthday or Christmas was approaching, I felt uneasy asking for models for those occasions. Especially since when I opened my presents, it wouldn't be long before someone would say how expensive that was. Mostly from my mother. I find that to be very unfair since I spend just as much, if not more, on their birthdays and Christmas. It just goes to show how little they can think of something I value very highly. The only times I would get any positive comments of my hobby is from people outside of my immediate family. That's few and far between. I'm seeing, right, a failure to communicate here. That's what I'm seeing as the true issue, is a big failure to communicate. You should be able to say to your parents, listen, this means a lot to me. Look at all of the brochures here. They're all men playing these games, right? It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my mental health. It means a lot to me learning social skills and doing all that, and my friends and things like that. Okay? But I will be honest with you, Serve. I'll be honest with you, my friend. If my son loved Warhammer, right, but stayed in the house all day, not having any friends, and didn't leave the house when he was nearly 30, I too would be looking at his Warhammer and going, dude, maybe you should spend your money on other things. As in moving out of my house. Right? A bit of tough love, I'm sorry, but that's how I would feel. I would feel like, listen, you know, there's a time and a place do this. Get your own place, get your own affairs in order, then I will take your hobby seriously. But if you're sitting in my house for 10 years, rent-free, I don't know if it is rent-free, but if it is rent-free, and you're spending money on models, that would rub me up the wrong way. You know? Even if and I know what Warhammer is, and I know how cool it is, and I know how good it can be for you, I would still be like, mate, priorities. Priorities. Okay? Get your house in order first, then come at us and, you know, with the Warhammer stuff. It's fine. But I think it's a failure to communicate more than anything in this situation, right? You're not telling them how you feel so far on the story, and they're old. They may think it's for babies, right? They're old. They don't know any better. It's up to you to communicate that to them. I always say to men who are in a relationship, if your missus is misbehaving, that's your fault. Right? You've not set clear boundaries on what behaviours are acceptable around you, and what you define as something that is acceptable to you. Your life and your flat, your house, your place is your place of solitude. You let somebody in there and you don't correct their behaviour, and they go in there like a bull in a china shop and start fucking things up, that's your fault. You didn't set clear boundaries, and that's what you need to do with your parents, right? But you need to do it from a place of strength. If you've got a job, find some friends, okay? Especially if you're in the hobby, if you're in Warhammer, right? And you're sitting there at home doing Warhammer, not making friends, not being around your peer social group, and being a recluse, I would take the fucking models off of you. I'm being serious. I would take them off you. I go, listen, you can have them back when you go to Games Workshop and play with them and make friends. That's when you can have them back. You're not sitting in my house, vegetating, doing nothing, and then guilt-tripping me for saying you shouldn't be doing your models, you should be fixing your life. Alright? I know. And this is me saying this, I'm on your side completely. I'm on your side completely. Listen, people should respect your hobbies. This is an amazing hobby to be into. But there comes a time when you've got to put your big boy pants on and sort your own life out. Being nearly 30, being in your parents' place, right, and never leaving, isn't sorting it out. If you've been in a good job, which you've said you have been for 10 plus years, you should have put some money away by now. And if you haven't, you need to start. Okay? And I know it's expensive. There are ways around it, though. Get a house share. I had to do that. I did that in London. I lived in a room in London. Couldn't afford anything else. But I did it. So I was nearly fucking 30. I was 30 at the time, by the way. Yeah, I was 30. I just turned 30. I can't be living at home with my parents. I've got to sort that shit out. Sometimes you need a kick in the nads. Sometimes you need to get out there and let life smack you in the face. What I'm saying. Don't hide from the fact that it's expensive out there. Get out there, take the plunge, get your own place, challenge yourself. If you need more money, push yourself, earn more money. Try to earn more money. Try to get a better job. Try to do this, try to do that. The amount of people I hear on these Hobby Nightmares, you just tell me I can't. Yes, you fucking can. You won't. You won't try. That's the issue here. You won't try. You can, you won't try. None of this I can't. You can. You've held down a job for 10 plus years and you're good at it and you're earning decent money. Dude, go and rent somewhere. And if you need to, share the house with other people. But get out of there. Stand on your own 2 feet. I'm being honest with you. It will sort you out good and proper. Right? And if you don't have any friends, start to make them first. Get out there. Start using the hobby to find friends, find a social circle, play Warhammer games with people, get involved. As soon as you start doing that, dude, the first person I moved in with when I worked for Games Workshop, I met as a friend in Games Workshop. He was like, yeah, man, come and stay with me. Like, I've got a place, you just pay the rent and, you know, he gave me an amazing deal. He was like, yeah, you pay for like, I pay like £600 a month in rent. You pay me 200 quid of that. You can move in, no problem. Dead easy, brilliant, loved it. That's exactly what the kind of situation you want as well. And you only get there by getting out there and talking to people. Alright? Life will not come and knock on your door and say, hey, Serve, here's all the shit you want, mate. See you later. No, you've got to go out there and do it. You've got to actually get out there and do it. Alright? Don't blame the world I say this to lefties all the time, so I'm going to say it to normies as well. Don't blame the world for being the way it is. Get out there and do something about it. Alright? Don't sit there and whinge. Get out there and do it. Alright? Cool. Anyway. Carrying on. I genuinely find it weird to talk to people about my hobby openly. Not including the odd friend I have over the internet. Yeah, okay, now we're seeing the issue. Since a young age, I've been led to think my hobby is wrong due to stuff like my dad telling me not to discuss it with people before my college years. Even to this day, I find it surreal to openly discuss Warhammer to anybody, even to the manager in my local games workshop. I know there's nothing wrong with me talking about it to people. Just need to mention that I'm an introvert and don't like being in social environments. Dude, that's something you can unlearn. I'm being serious. You can unlearn that. I'll get into that in a minute. So gaming, as well as the larger social side of things, was something out of reach for me. So I don't engage with the hobby in a social level. Building and painting has always been what I'm passionate about, and I can do that from the comfort and safety of my own bedroom. How do I know? I swear to God, you develop a skill reading so many Hobby Nightmares. I knew this is what your life was like way before you told me. Right? Way before you told me. Okay. I don't want to give you the wrong idea of my family. They are amazing people. Nothing I wouldn't do for them, and the same goes for what they would do for me. I just want to tell somebody and vent about this since it's been eating away in my mind for years now. Thanks for reading, and thanks for everything you do, North. Serve. No problem, mate. Let me get into this, okay? Being an introvert, people use that as a crux. Use it as a kickstand, as an excuse. I'm an introvert, so that gives me the right to sit in my room and complain about the world and never move and be stubborn and never do anything about it. No, it doesn't. Right? An introvert way of thinking is something you can unlearn. You've been conditioned to do that, but you can unlearn it. Best way to do it, right? Shock therapy. Not literal shock therapy. Get out there and talk to people. Put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable to you. And I swear to God, the first few people who look at your models and go, wow, that's cool, dude. Or, wow, that's really neat. How did you do that? Right? The first few people who do that, you will spread your fucking wings, mate. You'll be like, oh, yeah, I did this and I did that. And be honest with people. Say, look, I've led a pretty sheltered life. I'm not that great socially, so please, bear with me. And you know what? Not one person will go, huh, loser, and walk away. Nobody's doing that. Especially in the hobby store. They're going to go, no problem, mate, no problem. Thanks for being open. Cool. You know? Get on with it. Talk to people. Get out there. You're not changing anything by sitting in that room. Alright? Take it from somebody who knows. I'm telling you now. My life got better when I left home. When I left the fucking room. And I made friends. And I got people, and I got a social circle, right? Life gets infinitely better. I'm telling you now. Don't be one of these guys who think, oh, I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. That's what I do. I just say my own, and I sniff my own farts in my room. No, listen. That's not what you want, right? You're a dickhead if you do that, and you're a fool to yourself. People are laughing at you. I don't care. No, well, you should care. You should care. Alright? Your life gets infinitely better with other people in it. Okay? And if you need to, get out there first. Here's what you do, Serve. Here's what you do, mate. First of all, get to your games workshop, right? Talk to other people. Talk about their hobbies. Show off your models. Get out there, do a bit. Not online, in person. Talk to people. Find people. You must have acquaintances from university. You can't tell me you went to university and didn't meet any friends. Reconnect with them. Talk to them. Be honest about where your life is. About the fact that you've been quite sheltered and you're trying to get out there and meet people. People will come and get you. People will come and literally get you. Let's go for a pint. Let's go for something to eat. Let's go and do this. People will come and rally round you. I'm telling you. Happened to me. It's happened to a lot of other people when they've had bad times in their lives where they've been quite introverted. I was like that for a little bit. It comes in peaks and troughs. That's how I know being an introvert isn't a complete thing. Because it comes in peaks and troughs. You know? I can be very out there and outgoing, but there are parts of my life when I look back and I've been on my own, in a flat, or in a room, in my parents' house, and I don't want to leave, and I think the world is all against me, right? But then somebody came and got me, or I made the plunge and said, you know what, bollocks to it, and I went out and I found people that I like, and all of a sudden, bang, I'm not an introvert anymore. Do you know what an introvert is? An introvert is a normal person who doesn't have any options. That's what an introvert is. It's a normal person with no options, so they've developed a coping mechanism. That's what it is. Sorry if you're listening to this, guys, and you're an introvert, you consider yourself an introvert, that's fine. It comes and goes, though, man. I'm telling you now. The minute... I've never known an introvert, right, to be approached by somebody, to want to take them out, or go and hang out with them, and for the introvert to say no because I'm an introvert. They always say yes. Why is that? Because it's not fucking real. Okay? I'm being serious. Anytime somebody says to me, I'm an introvert, my soul turns over. It's like, no, you're not. You've just got no options. That's all. You need to introduce options to your life. And as soon as you've got them, bang, you're not an introvert again. You might be like me and have a social battery. That's what I've got. If I go out with all of my friends on one night out and I drain my social battery, I want to be on my own for the next 2 or 3 days. At least. You know what I mean? I don't want to be bothered. I just want to be on my own. That doesn't make me an introvert. That just makes me somebody with an average to small social battery. But I'm not an introvert. I love hanging out with other people. The only time in my life when I've said I don't like hanging out with other people is when I was on my own. I was alone. I had no choice. And it hurt less to say that I'm an introvert. Bollocks. It's an excuse. Get out there, make friends. Once you've made friends, Serve, once you've made friends, it'll be a lot easier to get out from under your parents' thumb, get out there and actually live your own life. You cannot live your life beholden to anybody else. You've got to put your big boy pants on, get out there and lose some money. Fine. Lose some money to rent. Fine. But you need to learn lessons. You need to get out there and let life kick you in the arse once or twice and realise it's all healthy. The amount of stories we've had on Hobby Nightmares where it starts life kicking them in the ass and they turn it around. And they're much happier now for the experience. Get out there and live. Okay? Alright. It's something Julius Caesar said. It's better to live one's life as you do and share one's share of life's ills than sit at home wondering about what might happen. Right? I've ad-libbed there, of course, but that's what he said. A big message from Julius Caesar. It's in the Gallic Wars. Go and read it. Gallic Wars is brilliant. Go and read it. Right? He literally says it's better to get out there and share my own share of ills. Right? Every man on earth has his share of bad things coming his way. But it's better to get out there and experience those and let them change you for the better than it is sitting at home fearing what might happen if you step outside. Alright? Hopefully this was the kick in the balls you needed. Get the fuck out there. Alright? Cool. Anyway. Sam says... Our next Hobby Nightmare. Sam. Dear North, you can call me Sam. I did. I'm coming to you from across the pond, in the land of bourbon and fried chicken. Kentucky. Kentucky bourbon, yeah. Your Hobby Nightmares have been helpful in passing the hours at a stable but painfully monotonous assembly job, and do provide some good life tips that even a middle-aged man myself finds useful. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. I do take this in as a Space Wolf fan and player. Oh, sorry, dude. Hopefully you get some medication for that. I just wish folks on here would quit driving in on how that guy plays the Wolves if it just happens to be the army. I could say the same for Imperial Guard and Chaos in the case in my neck of the woods, but I digress. Here's my nightmare. Yeah, you're right. You are right. I think a lot of people have taken to heart how I feel about Space Wolves from a lore standpoint, and they come out with stories of Space Wolf players that they've come across in their own lives. But I've got to say, Sam, it must happen. There must be a lot. You know what I mean? There's no smoke without fire. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, I've gone on record before saying that most Space Wolf players I know are one of two things. The minority of them are jock, gym bro douchebags, bullies, who seem to think that, that Space Wolves are the be-all, end-all or everything. And they can even have that attitude if they're not gym bros, that they're just these fat fucks just walking around the hobby store who smell, right? But they've got that attitude in them. The minority, right? But the vast majority are jolly dads. Jolly dads. Jolly dads play Space Wolves or Orcs. Big jolly men. Brr, big jolly dads. They tend to play one of those two armies. But anyway, I also digress. Let's get back to your Hobby Nightmare. It was just the start of the 10th edition, and my friendly local game store put on a tournament. It was 1,500 points, and painting/hobby scores were factored in, all while saying it was friendly. Not a hardcore competitive tournament or anything like that. That was something that was rammed down our throats right from the start. While checking out the armies and displaying mine, I noticed two older 50-something gentlemen. One had an all-knights list, oh god, which at the time was one of the most broken, and the other was running an all-demon prince list. I didn't think too much, save for hoping I wasn't paired with the knight player. First game was Death Guard against my Space Wolves. It was a fun game that was a pound for pound, with me edging out a few points ahead. Me and my opponent chatted a bit, took notes and shook hands on a fun game. Next is where we get to the nightmare. I was paired with the Oops All Demon Princes guy. I can't remember the exact list, but there was Baelacor, Scarbrand, 2 Bloodthirsters, and a lone Chaos Spawn. I had a good start thanks to some hot dice and shot off Baelacor with my Predators and Desolation Squad. However, when it came to close combat, that's when things went wrong. His Bloodthirster and Scarbrand always seemed to fight first and had devastating wounds. It seemed odd at first, as fight first is associated with Slaanesh and devastating wounds was toned down, yet I wanted to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, and after all, this was a friendly tournament, and I didn't want to come off as a bit of a rules weasel. The game came down to his spawn on the home objective. A wounded Bloodthirster on one end of no man's land on an objective and a Predator on the other end. Well, my opponent said he's doing a stratagem that lets his Bloodthirster teleport right onto my Predator to smash it to pieces. I forgot about the battle shock rule, which might have kept it from happening, plus I didn't want to get into the rules debate, so I let it slide, thus giving him his victory. Yeah, I'm not sure that's a thing that can happen. Saying. I took the L with grace and hope for a better game next time, and took note if I came along such a list again. Now, the game was very short, so I had a lot of downtime, but at the same time, I got easily bored and a bit anxious. Later in the evening, the pairings for round 3 were announced, and I got set up with the all-knights player. It's been a bit of a long day already, and I was already a bit tired and cranky. Seeing this guy's meta-tailored list of knights, I just wasn't in the mood. Sure, I might have won or had a fun game, but that was a 50-50 chance of it being so. I did the most polite decline and told the tournament organiser I was dropping out, and he more than understood where I was coming from. After getting home and having some food in me, I decided to have a Sun Tzu moment and looked up the stats on the Demon Princes. That's when, to my disgust, my opponent was a pathetic cheater. None of his units had the rules he said they had, as they seemed tailored, made to counter my army, such as fights first and some teleportation shenanigans stratagems. I would say that I was angry at myself for not asking to see the rules or look them up myself on the app. I played in the spirit of the game and didn't want to be some rules weasel, and this pathetic middle-aged man-child son of a bitch took advantage of it. I then messaged the TO through the store about the discrepancies and only asked that this man be monitored. Well, the TO got back to me to say that I wasn't the only one and that my Demon Prince opponent was banned. He also agreed with me that it was pathetic for a 50-something-year-old man to cheat at toy soldiers. It brought some sense of vindication and I took this as a hard lesson in not being afraid to ask to see the rules or look them up yourself. Anyway, North, that is my hobby nightmare, and while it's not as bad as some of the usual ones, I hope it sheds some light on not being afraid to say something, as long as you are polite, and even older folks can mentally regress to douchebag teenage behaviour sometimes. Here's some of my recent hobby projects. I've started to dip my toes into Age of Sigmar and Conquest, Last Argument of Kings. Okay. Alright. Have a little look-see, shall we? Oh, these look nice. I like these. Put these on the desktop. Let's have a little look at them. I do love this part of Hobby Nightmares. Going on and having a look at people's models. Right, let's have a look, shall we? I'll get into the Hobby Nightmare response in a second. Doing this also allows me to get things right in my brain. Oh! Very nice. Wow, okay. I'm not going to be able to show all of this, am I? Because it's so big. Dead. Oh, there we go. Cool. Like it. Like it. Very good looking model. Very good looking model, actually. And very nice. We'll look at the next one. Where are you? Oh. My God, you like your zoom, don't you, mate? Oh. Right. Ooh, I like it. I like the green shimmer on the armor. I think that's really cool. That's cool, man. It's like he's unsheathed his sword, and the whole dude's glowing now with that ethereal power. I like that a lot. That's cool. That is cool. Right. The last one, shall we? Very nice Viking warrior. Like it. Alright, so, response. I'd say in general, yes, you are completely within your rights to be really, really, really pissed off with what that guy did. I mean, how would you not be? The guy cheated. But at the same time, as you've said yourself, you need to work out how to just say it to somebody. Listen, dude, I'm not sure that's how that works. Can I please check it? Because we're in a tournament, you know? Don't do it with every rule, but the minute you get any sort of cheating or any sort of, like, shenanigans going on, just call it out. And if things continue, call over the tournament organizer and say, look, this hasn't been right all the way through the game. Can we have a ruling, please, on who's got this rule right? You know? Or, again, this guy keeps making up rules on the spot and insists that it's one way when it's actually the other. I'd like to either forfeit or request another opponent, please. Do something like that. Okay? Don't throw your dummy out the pram. Don't throw your toys out the stroller. Don't start packing up your models, being a little bitch, right? But make sure you query when rules don't sound right. But don't be an arsehole about it. I've seen this happen quite a few times. I've played people where they want to query my rules every single other time I use something. They want to query it, right? I've had one guy query the same rule 3 times. Try and catch me out if I was playing it differently every time, and I wasn't, right? Exactly the same each time. That can be tiring, and that can make somebody not want to play with you. But if your spidey senses are tingling, give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but if your spidey senses are tingling and your bullshit meter's going off, then politely say, listen, man, I'm not sure, I think I've read that in that codex, you know, in your codex before, and I'm not sure that's how it is. Can I read it, please? That's all you need to say. And if they say no, then call over the tournament organizer and tell him what just happened. Say, my esteemed opponent here I think is doing a rule wrong from his codex, and when I asked to see it for myself, because it seems a bit overpowered, he refused to allow me to see the rule. No tournament organizer in the world's coming down on his side. Right? They're going to come down on your side. And if they do come down on his side, politely say, listen, I would like to forfeit this game and I'm pulling out this tournament. That's when you do that, okay? But on the vast majority, 99% of the time, the tournament organizer is going to come down on your side. If you're polite about it and you're professional about it, no problem, right? That's the way you do it. Or you end up Sadly, like Sam here, going home and getting really frustrated when you realised a cheater, and a middle-aged one at that who should know better, just got one over on you, and perhaps everybody else at the tournament. That sucks balls. That's awful. But anyway, don't cheat at tournaments, lads. It's not worth it, right? It's a game of toy soldiers at the end of the day. I love you all a long time. I will speak to you on Monday for some more hobby nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'll have a few pints over the weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Have a good one. Bye now.